If you've noticed the crazy spike in female-led action espionage films lately, you've probably heard of 2020's Ava. If you're looking for fast-paced, intelligent action, I've heard this is the movie to watch, so here we go. Spoiler alert, while I might be giving my opinion on the film, that's no substitute for trying it for yourself. Links to the film are in the description. We open up on Ava picking Peter up from the airport, but they don't know that they have a tail. As they drive through the winding countryside, Peter notices that Ava is American, and she introduces herself as Brandy. As he goes on and on about how crap his day was, Ava plays along to warm him up to her. Eventually, Peter shoots his shot with her and Ava indulges him. She pulls the car over in the middle of a field and she comes back to the backseat to chat with Peter. While Ava talks to Peter, we see that the tail is actually picking up communications in the car. Peter thinks the conversation is about to take a turn in his favor, but he couldn't be farther from the truth. If someone pulls out a gun with that much reserve and confidence, you best believe that they're about to send someone to their grave. That's the face of a cold killer. Granted, it's just a job, but when you come up with a philosophy on how to give people a good death, you've come to terms with what you do. Just answer her. Peter doesn't take her seriously and he goes to make a phone call. I mean, obviously this is a dumb move on his part. She ends up just shooting the phone in his fingers and he finally understands that this is serious. He only had to lose a few appendages. After she asks him one last time, he finally tells her that he knows why someone wants him dead. Ava sees right through the facade, and when he goes to overtake her, she simply shoots him down. Ava gets out of the car, makes a call, and Duke answers on the other end. After telling him that the subject is closed, Duke thinks he hears something different in her, and he asks her if everything is okay. Of course, she says everything is fine, but he doesn't buy it. While Duke tells her that they need to prepare for the next job, Ava mentions that she has some personal business to handle in Boston first. While the opening credits pop up, we see that Ava was valedictorian of her high school growing up, but a series of bad choices left her enlisting in the military. After that, she got picked up as an assassin, and now she has 40 confirmed contracts closed and a whole lot of money to prove it. It's crazy to think that all of these spy movies kind of put how much a life is worth into perspective. They're showing prices of over £1 million for some, and I'm pretty sure 20 might be all it took to hire someone for me. When Ava arrives in Boston, she checks into a nice loft and she sweeps the room as soon as she enters. On the other side of town, we see Alan getting a call from management, and the man on the other side of the phone tells him that it's a job to hit one of their own. He isn't to make a move until he gets a green light, but they still want him to observe her. That night, Ava goes for a job, and when she gets back, she opens the mini fridge. Apparently, she has an alcohol problem, and I'm guessing it has to do with the accident she caused all those years ago. When she grabs some water, she hears the news talking about how Peter's body was discovered. Later, a present is delivered to her, and it ends up being a deposit box with a gun, a passport, and money in it. Later, Ava goes to a club where we meet Jude. After Jude is done with her show, Ava asks if she can walk her home. We find out that Jude is her sister, and there's some bad blood because Ava ended up leaving her behind to handle the crap she left behind. The next morning, Ava puts herself through the torture of visiting her mother. After a lovely day of nitpicking, Ava gets on a flight to her next contract. Duke calls her on the plane and he gives her her backstory and information. He stresses that it has to look like natural causes and her target is a general. Soon she arrives in Saudi Arabia and she attends a dinner party with the general. How easy it is for her to infiltrate these makes it a little unsettling to know there are really people like this out there. I mean, this general literally takes him up to an office room, injects him with something that'll make it look like a heart attack, then kills every single officer that comes in. Granted, if it didn't look like she was set up, she would have succeeded in making it a quiet kill, but still impressive. The action scene that follows was so smooth that I forgot to write and had to rewind a bit to make sure I didn't miss anything crucial. Later on the coast of Normandy, Ava makes her way into the water to speak with Duke. She assumes that he's gonna kill her for the screw-up, but he assures her that management understands that it wasn't her fault. After being told to stay off the grid for a bit, Ava tells him that she'll be heading back to Boston again to tie up some loose ends. Once there, we see that Alan is watching her still. When Ava goes to visit her mother, she runs into Michael, who is also there to visit Ava's mother, and we can tell there's a history there. Michael is with Judy, and Ava's mother wants the three of them to bury whatever hatchet there was and move on. Later, Ava Ava goes to her support group and tells everyone how her cheating father was the reason she had a rocky relationship with her mother. Meanwhile, Duke is at a party in British Columbia where he meets up with a colleague Simon. Simon believes that Ava is a liability, but Duke reassures him that she's the best they have, and she just needs to lay low for a while. Simon makes Duke believe that he's not going to try and close her too, but his intentions become clear after Duke leaves. Simon tells his daughter Camille to activate Alan. That night, Alan tries to attack Ava, but she holds her own against him and escapes. Or so we think for a minute. Pretty sure we see that she is actually pulling a Predator move, and she pops out of the water fountain pool to kill him in some of the sleekest fashion I've ever seen. The next day, Ava goes to talk to Duke, and he tries to reassure her that the company isn't trying to close her. She doesn't believe half of what he says, but he does everything he can to make her understand that he had nothing to do with it. After a touching moment that can only be described as fatherly, she leaves him with Alan's gun and asks him to run it. That night, Ava goes out to eat with Michael and Judy, and Judy gets a bit too comfortable with the amount of alcohol she's consuming. Okay, so 1. When your family member who clearly had a problem with substance abuse decides to extend an olive branch, how about you don't drink your butt off in front of them? And 2, what restaurant allows an obviously overly intoxicated woman to just waltz out with a glass of wine? Judging by the way she stomped out of there, I highly doubt anyone was fool enough to get in her way too. Michael tries to defend Judy, but it proves difficult to do so. But Judy shows up at Ava's room in the middle of the night saying how Michael didn't come back home after he went out to gamble. Once Judy realizes that Ava really doesn't know where he is, she leaves her in peace. Ava leaves at the break of dawn and she goes to see Tony, who is hosting a card game with Michael sitting at the table. Ava tries to take Michael peacefully, but Tony has other plans in mind. After Ava takes out all of her guards, she takes Michael away and buys him some time to get the money he owes her. Michael wants to know who she is now, but he's too busy remembering her for who she was when he asked her to marry 8 years ago. Meanwhile, Duke pays Simon a visit and accuses him of trying to get Ava killed on purpose in Saudi Arabia. And Simon realizes that this probably means that Alan is dead now. Simon assures him that it's simply business, and he didn't want Duke to have to put the order out on Ava himself. Duke understands that it's all just how the business is, but his soft spot for Ava becomes apparent when he pulls a gun on Simon. His daughter quickly disarms him, and Duke and Simon end up going man to man. After a grueling fight, Simon ends up stabbing Duke and slices his back open before letting him bleed out on the floor. Meanwhile, Ava makes her way to her family's house, and she finds that her mother decided to leave the hospital early so that she could be in her own home. Ava pulls out a pack of cards, and the two of them sit to chat for a while. The look her mother gives her after seeing the deck of cards is honestly the friendliest glance she's given her the whole time. We get a good idea of what happened in the past, but we still never get quite enough to really judge anyone for how they treat everyone else. Everyone seems to be at fault to some extent for how everyone's relationships are with each other. Sure enough, her mother tells her that she would love to believe that she works at the UN, but Ava just tells her that she's sorry. Her mother finally opens up and explains that she knew what her father had done the whole time. She knew that he lied about Ava to save his own skin, and at the time, she chose to not be alone instead of leave the man that lied about his own daughter. She explains that she hated talking to Ava after that simply because she knew that Ava knew how she had chosen. She finally explains that she doesn't care what Ava has been hiding. She knows that whatever it is what's made her strong, and she's sure that because of that, she would never do to her child what she did to Ava. Back at Simon's house, we see that Duke is still barely alive, but Simon has him chained to a weight on the dock. Simon tells Duke that he's gonna go to Boston to handle Ava himself, and Duke smiles weakly and tells him good luck. Finally, Simon pulls out his phone and videos him kicking the weight into the water, and Duke gets pulled over the edge and dragged down into the water. That would be a terrible way to go. I would actually prefer it if he had just killed him earlier. When Simon goes back inside, he gets Ava's number from the database, and he tells Ava Duke's last words before he hangs up and sends her the video of him kicking the weight into the water. When she watches the video, you can tell he struck a nerve, and she heads downstairs to eat while she contemplates her next move. Next, she goes to Judy's apartment and she tries to get Michael to leave with her. He seems really into everything, but suddenly he drops the bomb of Judy being pregnant. Yep, that'll change some things. Can't really ask him to leave and ghost everyone now. With that, Ava leaves to go see Tony, except she's not welcomed with open arms like last time. She has to put the guard down before walking into more guards that shoot on sight. She easily puts them down and heads into the sensual party going on. More people try to take her down, but obviously none of them them succeed. I don't even know why they try anymore. She's probably either there to pay Michael's dues or kill Tony. Either way, just get out of her way. Sure enough, she drops a bag of money in front of Tony, but that's not enough for her. Tony tackles her and starts to pummel her, but Ava divulges the secret of what she does for a living. She explains that even after killing all those people, she didn't know what she was capable of until she tried to steal her sister's fiancé. And with that, she pulls a quick little reversal and damn near kills Tony. She lets her go at the last second, and she makes sure Tony understands that they are square and to never bother her family again. Yeah, I wouldn't even let Michael near the building even if he did want to throw his money away. When Ava gets back to her room, she opens the mini fridge and grabs one of the bottles of liquor. She downs the one bottle and she feels something change inside her. I know it sounds like a superpower is awakening in her, but I swear that's what it looks like. I'm not just writing it that way, someone else already did. She then gathers all of the mini bottles and drinks them all. Just as she grabs the gun to shoot herself in the head, she hears the door open and Simon sneaks in with his gun drawn. Ava distracts him in the bathroom and the two of them end up shooting it out in the room. Ava ends up disarming him and the two of them have an impressive hand-to-hand fight. The two of them end up dealing some crazy damage to each other, and Simon almost seems like he thinks he might lose. He warns her that if he sees her again, he will kill her, and he hobbles off. Ava gathers what supplies she has and heads outside before the police arrive. She wanders around until she picks up Simon's trail, and she follows him. When he turns and sees her, he quickly picks up the pace and tries to hobble away faster. He even calls the company and warns them to put double detail on his family, and he warns them that Ava is not a closed deal yet. He tries his best to find a more advantageous location, but Ava simply shoots his good leg. For a second, I was wondering why he put double detail around his family. She's had no interest in following some personal vendetta this whole time. Then when she catches up with him, she says this.
My family.
I have no interest in them.
Obviously, she just wants you, dude. And sure enough, she ends up shooting him on the count of 1. After telling him on the count of 5, of course. After it's all done, she heads to see Judy. And she tells Judy to take all of her money and get the family out of the country until she can settle things here. She gives her access to her offshore account that has more than $500,000. And she tells her that it's up to her to keep the family safe. Once she leaves, Ava is trailed by Simon's daughter, and before we know it, the credits start to roll. I'm not really a huge action movie fan, but that's mainly because they're all the same when you get down to it. Ava was a good bit of the same classic mold, but it was done so well that I didn't mind one bit. The fight scenes were ridiculously good, and it's right on the level with John Wick in my opinion. Give it a shot. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should watch next, and I'll see you in the next video.